If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
API management. Okay, we'll discuss what is an API and why we used to go for an API management. Okay, the basic idea of using an API management is we have our backend systems, right? Not only backend system, we have our open source URLs. Okay, and the CPI also called as one of the provider who provides the data. Okay, and backend system. There are so many. Okay, now this data want to expose to the outer world. Okay, now this data want to expose to the developers and apps. Okay, then API managers, there are so many. Now you want to expose your backend data to the world, correct? In that time, instead of exposing the data directly to the outer world, what you are doing is just you are sending the data to the API management. Then from API management to you are making a secure way of creating a secure way of tunnel between the outer world to your backend system. Then it will make an security will be very secure whenever you transfer any data by the. There are so many ways you can make your data secure. Okay, there are you can use an API key. Okay, you can use an OAuth authentication. You can use the basic authentication. You can create so many if it is come to the API management. This API management also we called as gateway. Okay, now the gateway in the sense whenever you want to enter to the outer world data, suppose you are requesting for some data. Okay, now, whenever you directly want to request any data to the backend system, what you are doing is you just send a request to an API management. Now, here is the gateway. We call it as gate here, gateway. This gateway will be if there is any firewall issues or anything, whitelisting, everything we can done here. Okay. Once, okay, for the allow users, it will allow and it send to the backend system, and backend system again send the response to the API management. Then from there to you can get the data, okay, in the format of secure way. Okay, before jump into that, let me give a simple real-time example. If we go to make my trip application, now this is the front-end application, and the back-end we have an database which store all the information, flight information, hotels and everything. Now you just what you will do is you just click on the flights and you select all your requirements. Okay, then all your requirements, then just click on search. Now what happen is this request it sent to the backend system in the format of APIs. Okay, now this front end system is understanding some language and the backend system understands some other language. Now the API will make an unique, because whatever the data you send, this API will understand that, and whatever the data you post here, right, you send the request in the format of request, the API will be like a bus between your front-end application and backend database. Okay, there are so many APIs. Now the hotels, whatever the data you check here, right, this will be an one API which will get all the information of the hotels. Okay, then villas, all this information, whatever the services you can see here, there will be a backend API which requests the data, it's sent to the database and it fetches all the information. Now also we do the same. We will create APIs and we'll do the same operations. Okay, let's jump into the technical information. Okay, what is an API? Today, first we'll discuss about an API and how it works and all this information. Okay, this is the agenda. Now, what is an API? API is an stands for Application Programming Interface, which is a software intermediary that allows two applications to talk each other. Now, if you see the technical information, this is the technical definition, but we want to understand what exactly this API works. Now let's assume you are using a mobile application. Okay, now you want to get movie tickets. Okay, book my show or something. Now there is an backend web app. Okay, or something. which will store all the information. Now, what you will do is you just request the data to an API, and this API will go to the backend system and it send the request, and the same time it will take the response and it will give to you, correct? Now, whenever you open any mobile application, you search any request, then in a fraction of seconds, you will get a response. Okay. The mediator is an API. This API will be do the interaction between two systems. Okay. Not only then mobile to web apps, we have the game applications, enterprise applications. There are so many. Okay. Now, again, one API can be interact with any number of APIs. Okay. If one application can talk to another application through API, but one API can also talk to multiple APIs and can fetch the information. Okay. But the main agenda is to communicate between two systems through an API. Okay. That we called as application program interface. To call this anything, we need an protocols. Okay. Protocols in the sense the standard formulas or standard structures we call as protocols. Now, to speak any language, this API understand either the REST call or SOAP. Okay. Now you can send whatever the information in the format of REST. Okay. Then it can understand, this API can understand that REST language, and this web application can also understand that whatever the API can understand. Then it send the request and get the response. Okay. But the most popular protocols are REST and SOAP protocols. Now, how does this API works? Okay, now this is the actual where we use in CPI and how exactly this API looks like. Now you have your all the application, mobile application, servers, okay, and the enterprise applications, all these applications. Now, what you will do is first you not directly go to the API portal. Okay, we have an mediator called as developer community or developer portal. Okay. Whenever you want to access any API which is published in API portal, okay, here we have list of APIs. Remember, in API portal we have list of APIs, but this whatever the user can't directly access the API from the API portal. Then what he can do is whatever the APIs in the API portal, first he publish into developer portal. Okay. Then this whatever the application you want to access, then you just access the developer portal, not an API portal. Okay. This is an important concept before we jump into the real CPI concepts or API management concept. Okay. Again, I'm explaining you. We have our application. User is using any application. Okay. Now this user will not directly call any API from the API portal. Okay. We have APIs and everything will be available on API portal. Okay. Remember, we have two portals. One is API portal. Okay. Then the second one is developer portal. The second one is this developer portal. Now, all the APIs will be available in API portal. You can create APIs and everything on API portal. Now, you can't directly fetch any API or use any API in the API portal. Now, what you have to do is you just publish the APIs in the developer portal. What are the APIs here? You can just publish the same API in the developer portal. Now, this user can access from the developer portal, not from the API portal. Now, the backend systems, they can expose the data to the API portal. Now, this API portal can publish their APIs in the developer portal. Then the user can access the APIs from the developer portal. Okay, these are the two important words. Remember, because when we go to the API management, you can see these two words only. One is API portal and one is an developer portal. Okay.
Yeah, Abhinav, is there any reason why a user can't access the APIs directly, or
yeah, now
any security?
Yes. Because as you are an database admin, let's assume I am an database admin, and you will not directly give an admin access to the users, right? Because what access they want, you will just give the simple access. Either they want an request access or they want an post or something. You will not give an entire database for them, right? Here is the same thing. This API portal has all the information, but whatever the information this user has want, they expose the only that information to the developer portal, not an complete API portal. Information will be published to the developer portal. Only whatever the information this user want, only that information they will publish into the developer. Okay, now we are then users, we are a developers, we do all the development in the API portal, not in the developer portal. Okay, this developer portal is a front-end application. Okay, now the backend design is different and the front-end design is different, right? Now, if you go here, if you go to this application, I don't know what backend language is exposing, but this is the front-end application. Okay, but the backend, whatever the, let's assume this is a developer portal. Okay, now we are the user, we can access this. But for this, there is a backend which is called an API portal, which has all this database information and everything. But we never concentrate on then backend systems. What we'll concentrate on is we concentrate always in the developer portal, because they provide all the services here. We just access that. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, as I told you, this is an skeleton of an API management architecture. As I told you, we have an developers and API builders. Okay, builders in the sense who design the API, we called as API builders. Developers in the sense they can already someone created the APIs, right? This developer just they can access the API. Okay, they will not do any modifications or anything, but an API developer can do any operation. They can delete the anything. As I told you, we have two portals. One is API portal and another is developer portal. This whatever the design he do on an API portal. Who want to access that, they can access that in the developer portal. Now this developer portal and API portal will be the backend running runtime engine, which you can directly consume the data. Okay, now this developer portal, whenever the developer want to access any information, then he can just use a mobile application and he can access the data. Okay, but the main important concept here is a developer portal. A developer never edit any information in the API portal. Okay, but this API builder can able to access this developer, but this developer is not able to access any data in the API provider. Okay, and we have two, as I told you, we have REST APIs and OData API, and also we can use a SOAP API. Okay, based on our requirement, you can use any of this API. Today we'll discuss about the REST and SOAP APIs, and OData API also will do exercise on that. Okay, then this is the broad picture. The same thing, we have an API developer who develop the data that we, if you want to design and if you want to change anything, then you can do the in the API designer. Okay, now if anyone want to connect with the database or backend systems or anything, then we can use an API portal. And if you want to do any engage, okay, this application developer can connect with a developer portal, but this developer portal just for an view access. And out of these all, we use an API gateway, which is used for the security purpose. Okay, in website, when I go to the API management, you can see all this. Okay, API designer and API portal and developer portal, and this seamlessly connect with an API gateway that is called an security. Let me go to first into the API portal, because before I explain all these concepts, I'll at least show you what a glimpse of API. You just go to an, now if you already subscribe for that, because this API management will be come under integration suite, you just go to instance and subscriptions. And just go to integration suite. And here, as we know, we have multiple core services, CPI and API management and open connectors and integration advisor. We already know about these three. Now we are going for an API management. Okay, just click on API management. Okay, I already explained you this API portal, which you can do the design and everything, but we have an developer portal. You just click on this option and go to API Business Hub. This is an developer portal. Okay. Now, whatever the APIs you completed in API portal, that all you have to expose to this developer portal. Now, what you will do is you just give this URL to whenever if anyone want to access the data, then you just give this developer portal URL, not for an API portal. Okay, because the developer will use this, but whenever it go to the real time, then they can able to access this developer portal only. It is like an API business hub. Okay, now what you have to do is first we have an discover where you can find all the predefined APIs. Okay, already created by SAP. We have 168 APIs. Okay, you can use any of the API if you want. Okay, but we don't want to use any. We'll create an own API now. Okay, now as I told you, this is the developer. Okay, who can develop the API and who can utilize the API. Okay, it's not a developer portal. Again, telling you, this is an just develop where you can create or you can create your own APIs, or if it is already exist, you can use that APIs. All things you can do here. It is like an in CPI screen we have an design, right? Design screen. It's kind of that. Okay. Then we have an configure. Okay, this configure is basically, suppose you have your backend database. Okay, now whenever you want to access the backend database, first you have to do the configuration in the configure portal. Okay, you just click on the configure. Okay, you can see the API provider. Remember, the API provider is who provide the data. Okay, let's assume the backend ECC system provide the data. Then ECC will be API provider. Or if the CPI you want to connect with the CPI, then the CPI will be the API provider. Okay, now let's start with a simple example. Okay, we have an open source URL, right? Let's try this. Now first I'll show you what exactly this is doing. Okay, now I'm not using any authentication. Okay, just I am sending this, I'm getting the response. Now suppose let's assume this is the bank information, correct? Now this URL is available for everyone. Now any can get send the request and anyone can see the response because there is no security for this. Now what we will do is we'll give the security for this URL. Okay, we have an open source URL, then we'll just create an security. Now, whenever you have an URL, then URL will be not coming under providers. Okay, if it is a ECC system or if it is an backend database or if it is a CPI, then you can create the provider. We'll see that for the CPI. First we'll create an direct URL. You just go to develop, just click on create. Then here you just click on URL, paste that URL. Okay, now your URL is here. Then give the name, project. Let me give 01 first project. The title you can copy the same. Okay, and the base path. Okay, whenever you give this base path, right, at the end of the URL it will be slash something. Now let's give slash online rest. Okay, now I'm using the REST service type, and if you want to use the SOAP, you can also use SOAP. And if you are designing for the first time, you just mention the 1.0. Okay, this is not mandatory. I'm not giving anything. Just click on create. Okay, now it is created with the project 01. Now what you need to take from here is you just take the proxy URL. Okay, how to get the proxy URL is you just click on save. Okay, now the status is undeployed and this is the proxy URL. Okay, now what you have to do is just click on deploy. Now, if you see, it's a deployed. Now, what I am doing is just copy this link. I'll go to the Postman. Now, I'll not call the actual URL. What I'm doing here, I'm just calling the API URL. Okay, I'm just clicking on send. Now, even I get the response. Okay, now here I'm not giving any URL here. If you can see here, I just use the same URL here. Okay, target endpoint. I just mentioned this URL. Now I'm not calling this URL. First, I'm calling this API URL from the API management. Now it's fine. Now there is a no use of, again, you are directly calling without any username or password, correct? Now what you have to do is you just provide an API key for this. Okay. To provide an API key, we have an policies. Okay. Policies like a security layer that you have to, there are so many policies. Okay, you can give an API policy or you can give auth policy. There are so many. First, we'll go to an API policy by clicking on this option. Just click on policies. Now, if you see here, let me, before policies, you can see here API help. Just now I triggered one request. Okay. Now, if you trigger two, if it is success, you can see all the how many calls they are doing, all the information you can see here, how many success and how many failures or anything. Okay, just go to policies, just click on edit. Here you can see proxy endpoint, pre-flow and post-flow. Okay, now once it reach to the target system, then it called as pre-flow. Once the response is sending from the backend system to your system, that is called a post-flow. Okay, now first we are using the pre-flow and we'll use an API key. Okay, these all are the policies. Okay, we have the security policy, traffic management policy, mediation policies, and extension policies. There are so many policies, but the most used ones we try for verify API. Now I'll just mention API here, API key. Click on add. Now it's added here. Just click on this option. Okay, then just click on this option and scroll down. You can see the code here. Okay, now this code you have to double check. Okay, now here you have to mention header dot request dot header dot API key. Okay, now why you need to mention this is because I want to pass an API key in the header. Okay, here I want to pass API key. That's why I'm just mentioning request.header.api key. Okay, then just click on update, then save, then click to deploy and click on S. Okay, now it's deployed successfully. Now again, I'll send the same request. Now, if you see here, it's giving 401 unauthorized. It's expecting failure resolved API key. Okay, request.header.api key. Now, where we can get the API key? Just go back. Okay, now as I told you, whenever you publish, you want to publish the API from an API portal to developer portal, you just go to products and here add the API which you created. Okay, now I'll just click on create. I'll give the project underscore product underscore 01 and I'll give same here. Okay, and we have quota and all these will go next once we completed this. Okay, now just click on APIs and here you add the API which you created now. Okay, now we created project 01. Just click on that and click on OK. Now just click on this and click on publish. Okay, now your API is published. Once it is done, okay, now product published successfully. The status is published. Whenever the product is published, then you can able to see this in the API developer portal. Okay, let me refresh this. Now, if you see here, it is here. Before there are no one, but whenever you publish the API to the product, then you can able to see here. Okay. Now, what you have to do, you just provide this API to the developer. From here, they can able to access your API. Now, we need an API key, right? How you will get an API key? You have to subscribe for this. To subscribe, just click on this and create an application. Okay, whenever you create an application, then you will get your API key or OAuth secrets and everything. Okay, just click on new application. Once you click application here, it will be available here. Okay, now I am not creating here, I'm just creating here. Just click on create application. I'll give API key, then click on save. Okay, now if you see here, the API key is generated. That is an application key. Just copy this, go to Postman and go to headers. Here mention API key and pass the same API key here. Just click on send. Now I can able to get an request. Okay, but this is how you have to get an API key. Okay, till here any doubts? How to get an API key and how to publish your API to the developer portal. Any questions here, or we'll move to next?
Yeah.
No, Abhinav.
Yeah. Okay. Now you can also see how many calls for every 1 minute or something. Okay, here you can have an API performance. Okay, where you can see how many times you're triggering the request and everything you can see here. Okay, this is the home screen, and you can also go to the test option here. Okay, if you want to test your API also, you can test it here. Okay, now I'm just going to project 1 and I'll just click on send. Whenever I click on send, it will give an error because it's expecting an API key. Now click on header, just give API key, give an API key here, then just click on send. Okay, here also you can able to see the response. Okay, it's a 200 OK response. Yeah, it's a 200 OK response. Okay, let me scroll down this. Okay, this is also the another way if you want to do the testing. Okay, whatever the APIs are available on the developer portal, you can do the testing here, and you can do the analysis. Okay, how many errors per hour or how many success, everything you can see here. Okay, and you can see total API calls last week 44. Okay, then API response time for every request, it takes this milliseconds. Okay, everything you can see here. This is fine. Now let's go for the next one. Now this is fine. Everyone clear with an API key. Now I'll delete this API key. Now I'll use an OAuth authentication. Okay. Now here is my API. Now for this API, I want to provide an OAuth authentication. Okay, means you have to give the client ID, client secret, then you will get an access token. Then you have to provide the same access token to the system. Let me explain you the OAuth because it's important. Understand this simple concept. User User application. Okay. Now here the user first request data to the application. Okay. Now application will not respond anything for the first time. Okay, with any response data, it will accept always this application will accept the which one is access token. Okay, remember these three words: client ID, client ID, client secret, and access token. Okay. Now, whenever the user send client ID and client secret to the target system, then this target system will send one access token. Okay. Let me put this in this way instead of. We'll go in this API management. API. Okay, whenever you try to send any request to an API management, first it expects the client ID and client secret. Okay, now you will get the client ID and client secret from API portal. Okay, now once you get the client ID and client secret, then you just send a request with the client ID and client secret to the API management. Then you will get an access token. Okay. Now what you have to do is with that access token, suppose let's assume you got the access token with 1, 2, 3 or something, 4 something. Now by using the same access token, you have to send an request to the backend system. Okay. Now the backend system can send the response with actual data. Okay, this is the cycle. First, you have to get and send the request with client ID and client secret. If you don't know, then you will find the client ID and client secret from API management. Once you got the client ID and client secret, then you will send an request with the client ID and client secret to the API management. Then you will get an access token. Okay. Now by using the same access token, you send a response to the backend application. Then backend application will satisfy with the access token. Then it send the response. Okay. This is a life cycle of an OAuth authentication. Now we'll see the same here. As I told you, we already created a project to access the backend system. Okay. Now to get the access token, I'm not created any API here. Okay. Just will create an one API here to get an access token. Okay. Now just create and click on API proxy, and we are doing this for project interface, right? Just you click on this API here, just click on OK. Now here give any token or something. Okay, this API will get an token. Okay, then path prefix token. Okay, now we are doing the REST call. If you have any version you mention, okay, just click on create. Okay, now here everything is fine. You have to add a resource here. Okay, remember that to get an OAuth credentials, okay, you have to add the resource here. Just click on add. Then here give a name, get anything, get token, and path prefix get access token something. Then I don't want to delete or I don't want to do anything. You just, if you want to get an token, you just use the post operation. Okay, then just click on OK. And now here you can see the post operation. Okay, now what you have to do is just click on save. Okay, now it's not deployed. Okay, just click on deploy. Okay, now it's deployed. You just go back and go to the token. Just go to policies. Here you have to add a policy here. The policy is OAuth policy, OAuth 2. Just give any name here. OAuth 1 I'll give, then click on add. Okay. Now here we have a standard code. Okay. I'll give you that. Because I am sending the data from the header. Okay. We just remove all this stuff from here and use the same. Okay. Because I am using the grant type client credentials. That's why I'm just using the same code. Then just click on update. Okay. Then just click on save here. Click to deploy. Okay. Now it's deployed here. Now, but if you see here, this API is not there in the products. Okay. Then what you have to do is just you can click here and add the API which you just created, the token API. APIs and just click on add. Now add the same here. You can add any number of, then just click on this option, click on publish. Okay, now you can also see here, there will be now 2 APIs. Refresh this. Yeah. Now, if you see, there are 2 APIs. One is this API will get the token, and this one is an actual. Okay. Now let me click on this token. Okay. Now we need an client ID and client secret. To get that, you just go to applications. Okay. Click on API key. Okay. Now you have an. Let me go back. Let me create a new application or application for token. Save. Okay. Now go here and go to application. Now we created for token. Just click on that. Okay. Now you have client ID and client secret. Okay. Just copy this. Before that, what you do is just copy this URL which you created here. Token. Just copy, right click on copy link address, go to APIs, just paste, and here you have to add this resource here, get access token. Okay, just copy this, add this to the end of the thing. Okay, then go to body, go to www this URL encode. Here you have to add the client ID and client secret. Client underscore ID, then client underscore secret, then grant type. Grant underscore type. This grant underscore type we already mentioned in the policy as client credentials. Okay. Now this client ID and client secret, you will get it from the application. Go to application, go to token. Okay, just copy this client ID and take the client secret. Okay, then give the post operation. Click on send. Now we got an access token. If you see here, this is an access token. Okay. Now without this access token, it will not work. Okay. Now what you have to do is just copy this access token and paste somewhere. Okay. Now access token we have. Now we'll call the actual scenario. What is our scenario? the project one. Okay, now just click on this project one, then click on policies. Here you just add an OAuth policy. Okay, no need to do any change here. Just add an just click on add and click on update, save, and deploy. Okay, now it's deployed. Now you just copy the same URL. Now it will expecting the access token. To give the access token, go to the bearer token. Now you give the same here. This is the access token which you got. Just give that same, then click on send. Now if you see here, I got the information. Okay, likewise you can create and give the authentication. Either you can use an API key, or you can use an bearer token, access token, anything. Okay, but if you are not giving this access token, let me remove this. It will not work. Okay, it will not give the output. Okay, just give the both client ID and client secret, then you will get an access token. Okay, now what you have to do is just copy this access token. Now you go to your original flow and give the token here, and just click on send. Okay, for every call, this access token will be remains changed. Okay, whenever you do operation, first just trigger the first flow, which you will get an access token. Then you go to your original flow, then you can use this. Okay, this will be little confused, but it's if you understand clearly, then it will be very simple. First thing what you have to do is create an we have two, right? The first project one is actual project where you have to get the information from the backend system. Now this is the second one where you will get an access token. Okay, to create an access token, just go to token, and here in the policy you just add an OAuth policy. Just provide the standard code, because the grant type we use the client credentials. We use the same here. We use the client credentials grant type. That's why I just mentioned this client credentials. Okay, then just deploy this. Now to access the token, you have to create the resource with the post operation. Then you have to add this post to the end of this URL. Okay, this we called as proxy URL. Okay, now what you can do is you just copy this URL and append this /get access token. Okay, then once you send this, you need an client ID and client secret that you will get on application. Just go to application, then you have your client ID and client secret. Just send that, then you will get an access token. Then you can call your original flow. This is an original flow. Then just go to your original flow and just add an policy, standard policy. No need to do any changes. Just add a OAuth policy. That's it. Clear? Or any doubts, anyone? Any doubts or clear? Shall I move to next? If any questions, you can ask, because this is the important topic. If you know the API management concept, then it's more than enough. Okay, now we covered with the API key. Yeah, tell me. Yeah, someone is going to say something.
No, I think Abhinav, you can continue.
Yeah, okay. Now we'll go for the policy. Okay, we have two important policies. Let me first will go to this. And here we use an API key. Okay, verify API key. API key here. Now here you have to change to request dot API key. Okay, just click on update. Save this. Deploy. The API key. Okay, now I got this. Now we'll apply another policy to the same. Okay, once it verifies this API key, then we add the quota policy. Okay, we have an quota policy which you can control number of requests. Okay, now your client is saying that for every 10 minutes, okay, or every 1 minute only 100 requests, or every 1 minute only 5 requests. Okay, then this kind of information or this kind of management you can do with the quota policies, which is coming under traffic management policy. Just click on quota. Then click on add. Then here you can see interval minutes. Okay, then for every 1 minute, it's a default, it will take interval every 1 minute, allow count only 2. Okay, it will not allow more than 2. Okay, now it's a default for 2. Let we try this only. Update, save, and deploy. Okay, now let me send the request. Okay, now if you see, okay, let me, yeah, it starts for the 0, 1, 2. Okay, now if I click here, it's not taking the request. Rate limit quota violation, this, because we use the quota policy. Okay, now what you have to do, you just again wait for an 1 minute, then you again trigger, then again it will give you a 3, then again you have to wait for 1 minute, then again you have to do all these operations. Okay, now if you want to change this to 10, okay, then you just give the count as 10 here, allow count to 10. And just go to 10, click on update, save, and deploy. Now I'll just send 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10. Okay, it will give only 10. Okay, after that it will not give you the any response. Okay, again you have to wait for an 1 minute and you have to do this. Okay, and one more thing, we have an policy called as spike arrest. Okay, it is also same as quota policy, but there is a simple difference. Okay, this is the quota policy and this is the spike arrest policy. Now whenever you do the quota policy, suppose there are only 10 requests per every minute, 1 minute. Okay, then these 10 requests you can do in a first 10 seconds only. Okay, will not wait for an 10 sorry, till 1 minute. Okay. Whenever you do the quota policy, for every 1 minute, there are only 10 policies. Okay. In first 10 seconds only, you can trigger all the requests. But if it is the spike arrest policy, for every 1 minute, there are 10 requests. Then what it will do is it will calculate the time between each request. The first request for the first second, then after 10 seconds, the second, after 10 seconds, the third, after 10 seconds, okay, it will divide into the same intervals, okay. Now, if you trigger simultaneously two, it will not allow if it is a spike arrest policy. But if it is the quota policy, if you click on first request for the first second, and the second, third second, it will allow. But if it is the spike arrest policy, first you will send a request for an first second, then you have to wait for then 10 seconds, then you have to wait for an 20 second, then likewise. Okay, there is an difference between a quota policy and spike arrest policy. Let's go to this spike arrest. Let's go to policy. Just click on edit. Here we'll delete this quota policy. We have spike arrest. Just click on it. Okay, now here 30 per minute. Okay, for every sorry, in a minute you can do 30 requests. Okay, now let me take this to 5. Okay, then nothing else. Just save this, update, save, and click deploy. Okay, but 5 per minute. Okay, only 5 you can do, but that is in time intervals. Now, first request. Wait. Okay, now I think it's start the process. Okay, spike arrest violation allowed rate message rate is the period of every this many micro milliseconds. Okay, now if I trigger again, it will not take. It will again wait for next 10 seconds. Okay. Okay, now it's allowed. Now, if you see, it's not allowing now. Again, it will wait for next 10 seconds. If you try it now, it's working. Then if you do, okay. Now this is how it will work. Okay, first a call, then it will take and sequence how much of time, then it will wait for that time, then again it will take a response. Okay, now it's take a response. Now it's again it will not take. Okay, but if it is the quota policy, if there are 10 requests in a minute, you can do in the first 10 seconds only. Okay, that is a difference between the spike arrest and quota policy. And we have so many policies here. You can find each one. If you want to use the basic authentication, then you just use this basic. Okay, then you just use the username and password. Okay, username and the password here, and you just send the username and password in the headers. Okay, this you can use. Okay, there are so many. Okay, if you can see, there are so many. Okay, if you want to convert the data also, you can do XML to JSON, or there are so many. Okay, now let's go to the open connectors part. Okay, open connector, how the open connectors will connect to the API management. And next we go to the CPI, how it will connect with that. Okay, let's go to open connectors. Okay, now this open connectors, instead of directly give the access to the user, it send the information through API management. Okay. Now what you have to do is, as I told you, the backend will be the providers. Now open connectors is has all the data. Now the provider is an open connector. Now whenever you have a provider, you just click on create here, then give connector and go to connections. Here we have multiple. We have an on-prem database systems or anything, and we have open connectors. We have cloud platform integration. Just select an open connector. Okay, and your region you select this. Okay, which region we use this. Okay, we are using the Europe. Just select that thing. Then this is the standard one, which is available here also. This is the same. You can give the default one, and 443 port. Okay, then organization secret. This is user secret is the important. Just go to here, click on home, and click on this option. Here you will find organization secret and user secret. Just copy this, then paste it here. Then go to user secret, then paste here. Okay. Yeah. Just click on save. Now click on test connection. 404. Let me go to API and we'll check this. Now it's created. Let me go to the API and click on create. Here we have an API provider. Select that API provider. You can click on discover. Okay, it's not giving the authentication there. Instead of that, it's directly able to connect. Okay, you just click on provider. Provider. Select the open connector. Click on discover. Okay, now which service you want? You want a Google Drive request or whatever it may be. You just click any one. Let me click on hotspot. Click on OK. So we'll try for another provider. We'll create for backend ES5 system. Go to connection, internet host. We have to give the standard host and port. So 443 and check this SSL, and we'll call any service which I already created the service. Just use the same service and the service URL. And give the basic authentication. And here give the backend system username and password. Let me give those password. Just click on save. Let me connect. Okay, now it will be available. Okay, now just you can access the same URL. You just click on this. Okay, now this service, all the whatever the services here, you can able to access now. Okay, now this is connect with an API management. Now, if you want to see what are the services available on ES5, just go to develop, then click on create. Here, select the provider ES5, click on discover. Okay, now this many services are available. Okay, you can select any one. Yeah, let's select this. Just click on OK, then click on create. With the backend server. Okay. It's not allowing me to add it here, but if you have all proper access, it will allow to add. Okay, now this ES5 will add like that. Now let me try with CPI. CPI. And here select cloud integration. And here you just provide an CPI URL. Just copy this URL. Now HTTP, it's a 443. Then the authentication basic. Now provide your CPI username and password. Then just click on save. Now click on test connection. Now it's saying 200. Okay. Now your CPI system is connected to API management. Okay. Now just go to developer. Okay. Let's try for this. Okay. Now select your provider name API and click on discover. Here you can see all the iFlows which are having SOAP and REST and OData protocols. Okay. Now we have this many which is available in the CPI. Okay, let's create a simple one here. Okay, let's create this one. Yeah. And now here go to artifacts. Here you just select which API you want to test. You want to select a SOAP API or OData API, REST API, anything you want. Okay, I'm just selecting REST API and giving the REST underscore test. Just click on OK. Okay, now this is created. Now for simply we'll add just content modifier here. Okay. Okay, this is the request sending, and this is the process call, and it called the local process call. Here we'll just mention some content here. Okay, we are using this. Instead of that, we can also use this is from API Management. Then just click on save and deploy. Okay, now you no need to take this test scenario URL. Okay, what you do is you just assign the same here. You save as version. Okay, now just go to API portal and just click on discover. Now we created test REST underscore test. Yeah, this is the one just now we created. Just select on that and click on next. And again here provide the same username and password of CPI. Okay, now you can leave this as it is. Okay, no need to do any changes. Now it's created. Now we need to take the proxy URL. Just click on save and deploy. Now it's deployed. You just copy this URL from here. Now you will not call directly the CPI. You are calling the API management. Click on send. Now this is from API management. Okay. Now we are not directly calling the CPI. We are just exposing all the whatever the interfaces are there. We just expose the same in the API provider. Okay. Then we are just using this URL to call an SAP CPI. Okay. This is the client requirement. Most of the client will expect this because instead of providing this URL, standard URL, what they'll do is they'll give this proxy URL. Okay, whenever you want to trigger any data, you just use this, and here they will provide an authentication. Okay, they'll give the basic authentication, or they will give the API key, something. Now here you can see number of calls. Okay, till now there are 10 and 44 for this interface and this 4. Okay, everything you can see here. Okay, now we did for this REST underscore test 1. All this information you can see here. If you want to delete, then you just click on this, you can delete. And if you want to export this, and you can do export. If you want to copy and deploy, all these things you can see here, action. Okay, any questions?
No.
Okay. If you have any doubts, you can ask.
Yeah.
Okay, you have any other doubts here related to API management? Because whatever we covered are important things, the project point of view. Okay. Now, to copy these standard APIs, what we have to do is just go to this here and just click on any artifact. Okay, and just copy this. Now I'm trying for this. Just copy. Okay. Here you can select the sandbox, which is provided by the SAP database. Just click on this and click on OK. Now it will be here. Okay. Yeah, this one, it will be here now. Now, if you want to do any operation, like if you want to add any keys or API key or anything, then you can do that. Without that, I'm just deploying, and it's deployed. I'll go to test this scenario. Just select that and send. Okay, it's expecting the API key. Add API key here. We get an API key from here. Same. Okay, invalid API key. Let me create a new API key for. Okay, now the API is created here. Just add to this product. You can also create new product here, or you can add multiple products, multiple APIs in the same product also. Now, test. Okay, just add the API here. You just click on OK. Then click on publish. Okay, now go to your API management. Just refresh this. Now this is the recent one. Just click on subscribe. Create new API. Click on save. Now you use this API key. Test with this. Okay. It's not allowing this also. Let me try my original API business hub API key. API. Business hub. Let me copy this API. Okay, there is this one is not available. Okay, now the service is not available. We'll take another service. Okay, likewise, you can also select anyone from here. Okay, based on your requirement. Field glass. Let me try this. Copy this. And now if you see here for the this we got a data, okay, for whatever the services you are available and they'll provide the data, then you will get this data. Okay, here also you can do the testing, okay, based on your requirement. Just what you have to do is just copy the standard API which is provided by the SAP. Then you can change the URL. Okay, if there is no URL, just you use the standard sandbox URL. Then likewise you can do the testing. If you have already any system backend system, then you just provide that same URL, then you can do the testing. Okay, from here also you can do the copy. And what you need to do is you can group all the APIs here in the product. Then whatever the APIs you publish here, everything you can see here in the developer portal. Okay, and that is one thing. And here, if you do the first time, it will not allow you to do any operation. Okay, remember this. Suppose if you try this, it will not work if you do the first time. What you have to do is go to manage. Okay, then go to register user, and here you have to add your username. Okay, and once you add, you have to provide all these roles. Okay, content admin and site admin, developer, administrator. Then only you can do any operation here in the API management. That is an important thing to remember. Without doing this, this will not work. Okay, you have to add an configuration here. Okay, by clicking on this pencil option. Okay, now you can add your username. Just click on this option. It will ask you the which role you have to provide for that user. Then you provide all these roles, available roles. Then just click on OK. Okay, likewise, you can run your SAP developer portal. Okay, now whenever if someone send you the request, right, then if you want to see the request, then you can see all the requests here. Okay, if you are an admin and all the request you will be received. Okay, then if you want to do the reject, or if you want to do any submit, and everything will be done here. This is the manage portal where you can do everything. Okay, you can also change this logo. Let me try. Okay, now I use this logo here. Okay, likewise, you want to use that, you can use that. And if you want to change the color, everything will be here. Okay, that is a simple thing. Okay, but main important, you have to check the register users, and here you have to add your user and assign all these roles. Okay, any questions from anyone? Or not only from the API management, any other questions? Okay, if no, we'll go to next. Now we'll discuss about the AS2. Okay, AS2 adapter. In AS2, basically you have to remember two things. Okay, one is the sender system, okay, and the receiver system. Now, whenever you send the successfully send the request to the CPI, okay, let's assume this is a CPI and this is a sender system. Now the sender system is successfully send a request to the CPI. Now, if the data is success in SAP CPI, then the CPI will send a response to the sender system saying that the data is successfully sent from CPI, that we called as MDN. Okay, MDN, message delivery notification. Okay, now whenever you use to send some data to the SAP CPI that we called as request, then if you want a response, okay, that we called as in AS2, we called as MDN, message delivery notification. Okay. Okay, now we'll go in depth onto the AS2 and we'll understand more about what is the use of that.
What is AS2? Abhinav, I mean, full form is the
applicability statement 2.
applicability.
Statement 2.
Okay. What does it mean? Applicability.
Yeah. Basically, whenever you want to send a file, right, file from one system to another system, we start a adapter called as file. Okay. Then they provide one layer of security in the format of fingerprint, that is called as SFTP. Now for same SFTP, the updated version is AS2. Okay. It has all the certificate authentication, key authentication, everything. Okay, that is also the file transfer protocol. We use HTTP for AS2, but it contains all the MDN, message delivery notifications, and keys, certificates, everything will be in the AS2. Okay. Now let me show you the tool. We have an open source tool called as Mendelssohn AS2. You can also download this tool. So free software. Okay, clients will be use this tool to send the file from an AS2 server to SAP CPI. Okay, let me delete cloud connector because both will not run same time. Let me delete dot log. Ready.
And this cloud connector and AS2 cannot work together, is it?
Yeah, it will not. It's not work in the same system.
But both are different tools, right? Separate.
No, both are running on the same port. That is the reason it will not work. You see here, this cloud connector will be running on this and the AS2 also. That is the reason it will not work. Now I think it's deleted. It's not deleted yet. Okay. I think now it's deleted. Yeah, now it's deleted. Let me try AS2. Yeah, now it's we can able to log in. Now here is the important thing. If you see here is the partner, right? Suppose you are a sender, then you have to create a partner. Just click on this option. Let me delete all this stuff. Okay, just click on new. Here, suppose you are a sender, then make sure that you have to select local station. Okay, then you have to give the partner name. Let's assume you are using some company called XYZ. Then you just mention your name, company name, then AS2 ID. Okay, whatever it may be, you can give any AS2 ID here, any ID. Then your company mail ID. Okay, it will receive the, if there is any alerts or something, this mail ID will receive that. Okay, then the security. Here we have an client. We already explained the concept of keys, right? We have an public keys and private key. Okay, now here to do the encryption, what I told you, we need an public key, right? We need an partner's public key. Okay, and the signature also we need an partner public key. Okay, which is available here. You can search which key it is. Okay, you can use an key 3 and key 4, anything. Now MDN. Okay, as I told you, MDN is a message delivery notification. Now your system need to get a response, right? Then this address, you have to mention your system address. Okay, to get that, you just use an Windows or command just for IP configuration. Now you will get your IP address. Then you just use your IP address here. Something is okay. That's it. No need to do anything here. Okay, just name and AS2 ID and email address. But these three are very, very important. Okay, just click on OK. Okay, now let me go here again. Yeah, XYZ is created. Now go to your CPI. Go to any one of these scenario. Now let me create a simple iFlow. Okay, you just select sender AS2 channel. And as I told you, if you want to send an MDN, then you can select or create one more iFlow with the AS2 MDN. If you just get the response, then just send AS2 if you get the data. Then you scroll up, here you can see so many information, right? Message ID left and right. You just mention dot star here, okay, for these two options. Now partner AS2 ID. Now we already created an AS2 ID for the partner, right? This is the partner AS2 ID. You just copy this, just provide this here. Okay, now we created for the partner, but you also need to create for an CPI. Okay, that is this. Okay, now if you create for the CPI, then no need to select this box. You just uncheck this. And here you have to provide the name and AS2 ID. Now let's assume the AS2 ID, this. And now copy the same AS2 ID. And this is the own AS2 ID. Own in the sense, suppose you are working for an CPI, then the own AS2 ID will be the here, whatever you created. Okay, the partner AS2 is the either it's a sender or receiver, whoever it may be, but that is an partner AS2 ID. But the own AS2 ID, you have to give your CPI AS2 ID. Then message subject, anything you will allow, just mention dot star. Okay. Now, if you scroll down here, you can see message settings. Okay, these three are very important. Now, let's assume they are sending, they are not sending with any file name. Then, if you want to throw an exception, then you just click on this option. Then the mandatory file name. Now, if there is any message ID, duplicate message ID. Let's assume they are sending with the message ID 123 and again 123. Then if you want to reject the second one, then you just click on the second one. And if you want to send a response, then in the format of error, then you can use this. Then if there is any duplicate file name, then if you want to raise an exception, then you can use this option. Okay. Duplicate file name in the sense, suppose the first file is test123 and second file also test123. Then if you want to cancel or raise an exception, then you can use this option. Okay, these three are the important. Now security parameters. Okay, in the security we have decrypt message. What is the decryption? When they are sent the data with the encryption data, you have to do the decryption. Okay, to do the decryption, you need a private key, right? As I already explained the concept of public key and private key. To do the decryption, you need a private key. Okay, if the signature, if you want to do the signature, then you can do that. If you no need, then no need of signature. Suppose if they do the signature with an trusted CA, the certificate, then we have to give the same certificate of the sender system. Okay, if there is no need, then you can just uncheck this. And this decryption is the important thing. Okay, whenever they send the information with the encrypt data, before it reaches to the CPI, you have to decrypt the data. Okay, for that you have to just use your private key. Okay, which is provided by your basis team. Then MDN. Okay, as I told you, the MDN is send a response back to the sender system. Whatever the data, once the data is successful or fail or negative acknowledgement, everything this MDN will handle. Okay, to send that, you need a private key. Okay, private key alias of signature. Okay, whatever the data or whatever the file you deployed in a secure area, right? We have to provide the same here. Okay, then the signature encoding. Let's assume the system is accepting only the binary data or base64 format. Then we have to ask the sender which format you are sending. If they are sending base64, then you use this. If they are sending binary, then you can use this. Okay, now if you are connecting with the on-prem application through the cloud connector, then you just select on-prem and you have to use the location ID. Suppose if you are connecting with the AS2 with the internet application, then you just use the internet. Okay. Then we have an delivery assurance. The quality of service is two. Basically, we have exactly once and best effort, right? What is an best effort and what is an exactly once? Now, let's assume you are sending the data from the sender system. And if you want to get the response, that is the best effort. Okay. Now you don't want any response. You just send the request. Either it's a fail or success. You don't want to understand any status. Then you just use an exactly once. Okay. That is the difference between exactly once and best efforts. And whenever you use the exactly once, okay, now let's assume you're sending some data. Now, if there is any fail happen, if you want to do the retry for every 1 minute, then you can use this. Okay, now whenever you check the exponential backup, then once this retry is completed, again you want to do the retry second time, then you just checkbox this. If you don't want to again retry, then you don't want to do this checkbox. Okay, first it will try for 1 minute. If it is the fail, then it sends the fail message. But if you want to retry for the next second minute or third minute, fourth minute, then you just check this box. Okay, then the maximum retry intervals are 60 minutes. And you have to understand what is the dead letter queue. Now you are sending so many messages. Okay, if there is any connectivity issue happen, then this all the messages you just store in the dead letter queue, and whenever if the server is up and running, then you can fetch the data from the dead letter queue. Okay, that messages we store in a queues. Okay, to store the data in the encryption format after the dead letter queue, then you can use the encryption checkbox here. Okay, but this all will be the default, no need to do anything. And this is the payload size. Suppose if you want to send the payload size 40 or attachment size 100, then you can change this according to your requirement. But in the AS2 adapter, you have to mainly understand partner and own. Okay, whenever it is the partner, then either it is the sender ID or receiver ID. Suppose you are using in the sender side channel, then the partner ID will be sender. And if you are using it the same in the receiver, then the partner ID of the receiver. But own AS2 ID is always same, both in the sender and receiver, because we are using the CPI as an own AS2 ID. Okay, these are the standard one we have to use in AS2. And you don't want to understand what exactly this configuration, but at least now if the configuration is everything is done, if you want to send the file, just go to file and send file to the partner. Now select your partner receiver. Let me create one for receiver. If you use the clone, it will take the copy of this. Okay. Now let me. Okay, now let's assume sender is XYZ and the receiver is CPI this. Then you just select the file here, and which file you want to select, just select this, click on OK. Okay, then from here it will go and it will reach to the CPI, but you have to make sure you have to deploy this. Okay. Okay, now it's generated this URL with the own AS2 and the partner AS2 ID. Whenever they send the message, first it reads this own AS2 ID and it's a partner AS2 ID, and it will allow all the subject. Okay, any subject, if you send any content, it will allow. Okay, this will be the URL it will generate AS2 system. Okay, any other doubts or anything? And if you want to do the, suppose if you are using the CTS plus transport or anything, then what you have to do is, yeah, or someone is asking. Okay, whenever you use the CTS transport, right, then you just, what you have to do is just click on import. Okay, let me change this to. Okay, now it's taking only zip file. Now what you have to do is you just upload the same zip file in the target system. Okay, this is then standard format whenever you can download these. But if you have the configuration or everything is completed, then whenever you click on export here, then it automatically check this configuration. What is the configuration you designed here? Either it's a CTS or whatever it may be. But we know that we use the simple transport called as cloud transport management. Okay, you can use this simple cloud transport management to transport the objects. Okay, any other doubts or any questions?
What is a real-time scenario where AS is preferred over FTP or SFTP?
No, if they want EDI messages, right? If they're sending the EDI messages, okay, any 810 or 850s, okay, we use that for an one of our project. We used to send the data to the ECC system. Okay, then instead of we are sending the data from the SFTP, we just sending the client used server as AS2, and they have their own certificates. Okay, but if you go for an SFTP, you will not get an MDN, right? Because it just give the exactly what is the synchronous SFTP. But if it is the AS2, whenever you send the request, you will get a response in the format of file. That is called an MDN, message delivery notification. It's all about the requirement. Okay, if you have the client requires that whenever we send the data, we need an acknowledgement file, then you can use an AS2.
Okay.
Yeah. If you don't want, because the SFTP and FTP are the asynchronous, right?
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Anyone? Any doubts on this real-time projects or how this CPI work and where we mostly use this? Any kind of questions? Anything?
Hi, Abhinav.
Yeah, hi.
Actually, I am a bit confused between cloud connectors and open connectors. When are we using cloud connectors and when to use open connectors? Setup we got, like how it can be set up, but which will be the real time scenario when we are using this?
Yeah. Suppose you have your ECC application, on-prem application, right? Suppose you have your on-prem application ECC. Okay, this will be installed in your system, correct? Now you want to expose this information to the internet cloud application, then you go for a cloud connector. Okay, now whenever you already have a third-party applications, Gmail, Outlook, Facebook, Twitter, that kind of applications you want to integrate, then you go for an open connectors. But open connectors or cloud connectors are totally different. Whenever the on-prem data you want to expose to the outer world, then you go for an cloud connector. Now, whenever you have any third-party applications, okay, CRM application or HubSpot CRM or Gmail, Drives or anything, in that time, then you can go for an open connector.
So basically, whichever third-party applications are already there in cloud service, that time we will be using open connectors.
Yes, correct. The main advantage of using the cloud connectors are, suppose you want to get a token, correct? Now, as I showed you for an OAuth, you have to first send the client ID and client secret. Then you will get your access token. Then again, you have to send the second flow. Now, instead of all this stuff, what you can just do is you just create an instance in an open connector. Then you just use the same URL in the CPI. But without open connectors, you have to fetch the token and you have to again store the token. And whenever you want to pass, again, you have to pass the token. But if it is the open connectors, no need of all these operations, just one URL that is through instance.
So this will be also like depend on the applications whether they want to expose the data, whether they, or it will be like generic case.
It's a generic. It's not exposing of the data. Just they connect the third-party applications from CPI, but they'll directly don't want to give any URL or anything to the CPI. Instead of that, what they're doing is first they'll do the connectivity between CPI to open connectors, then open connectors to backend applications. Backend applications in the sense any third-party application. And the most important thing in the open connector is they already created everything. If you see the open connectors, we have most 200 plus third-party applications which are already there. Now, instead of using suppose you want to connect with the Twitter, now instead of opening the Twitter adapter and do all the configurations, what you just do is you go to the open connectors, you just authenticated that, then directly use that adapter. And if you want to connect with any OneDrive, then what you will do, you have to go to the developer port. Sorry, you have to go to the Google developers and you have to generate the API. And again, you have to use the OData service and everything. But instead of that, what you just do is you just go to Open Connector and you just create an instance for the OneDrive or Google Drive, then you can just use that. To create for 200 plus third party, if they want to create 200 plus adapters, it takes more time and complexity, right? Instead of that, they'll just create in one connector called as open.
So if we have like three ERP system, SAP on-premise system, and we want to connect it in CPI, so three cloud connectors we will be creating.
Yeah, first you have the only one. Suppose you have one SAP system, want to connect with then this system, what cloud system? Okay, cloud cockpit. Then only one system it allows you to access the data. Okay. Now, if you go to the cloud connector, let me open that. And you have multiple.
Because normally we have this scenario, right? Test environment, product and production environment, and development environment.
Yeah, then one cloud connector is enough.
One cloud connector is enough.
Yeah, only one cloud connector is enough.
But the client and other details will be different, right? Then
yeah. See, in the cloud connector, what you do basically, you just give the internal host and internal port.
What I was thinking to create like three virtual host and port for three systems.
Yeah, correct. You have to create like that only, because the development system URL is different and our quality is different and production is different. So for three internal host, you have to create three virtual ports and three virtual hosts.
Okay, but this will be single only, right? Cloud connector setup will be one. Inside that, we have to create three virtual IDs.
Yes, correct. Exactly. Let me show you that. Okay, now you have, let's assume you have three systems, development, quality, and production. Okay. Now you have your cloud connector. Now you have your sub accounts. Okay. Now you have multiple sub accounts. Okay. Now you want to expose your development and quality and production data to the one sub account. Okay. Then what you have to do is you just create an first one virtual internal host, internal port, and for the first one, and whatever the services you want to expose, you can do it for the first one, and same second, and same for the third. Okay, then in the cloud connector, you have to create the first sub account, then you have to enter the first sub account details. Okay, now you have second sub account. Then what you have to again do is, again you have to add the sub account, then whatever the backend systems you want to connect, then add all the information again in the second sub account. Okay. Here the sub accounts, you will not able to connect from one connector to the multiple sub accounts. Okay. For each and every sub account, you have to again create a sub account in a cloud connector.
Is it also used for like some sending mails or something, some virtual
you can
host
also
for any mail?
alerts you can send from here. You just configure this email configuration, you can send that. But if you have the internal email server, then that email server need to connect to the cloud connector, then you can expose that. Now, if you see here, you have one sub account. Okay. Only this to this sub account, you can connect multiple connectors. Okay. Suppose you have, let me expand this. And here you can add your production system. Okay. Here you just add your production system. Something this. Okay. Then again, you can add your development system here. Okay. Now, again, you want to add your quality system, then again you can add, and here the resource will be different. Okay. For this one, the resource again you have to create, and for this again you have to create a resource. Okay. For the development and quality of production, that will be different. But if you want to connect with the multiple sub accounts, then again you have to add another sub account here. Okay. And again you have to add all the sub account information. Then again it will be one more sub account here. Under that again you have to do all these operations. Whatever the operations you do done here, same you have to do under the same sub account.
And suppose we have only two tenants in CPI, the development and production tenant, and three environment in ECC, means in ERP side, development, test, and quality. So in CPI, we can create a separate package for which is connecting to the that.
No,
or
you just create, you have two tenants, right? One is a development. Let's assume one is development and then one is production. There is a no quality. Assume that. Now what you do is just
this is for CPI.
CPI. CPI management. Now you have two tenants only. Okay, one tenant you already design all the development, and finally one is production. You keep the production side and you concentrate on development and quality. Now only the thing you have to do is just create one static iflow, but the URLs will be changed, remains changed. Okay, whenever you want to call an development, then just copy the development URL, and whenever you want to call the quality system, backend system, just you change the quality URL. That's it. No need to create new flow for an development and new flow for quality, because the data structure is same, but whatever the backend system you are calling, the URLs are different. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So here, if we go to Cloud Connector, here now under this one sub account, we have created three system.
Correct.
Right. And in CPI, when we are doing it, we have two URL, right? So here, how to
first time
this,
suppose
here we are giving the URL path, right, for the whichever iflows will be there, right? If we are giving slash, then it is considering all.
Now
so
the
how will
same
we
service,
differentiate?
the same service for the both are same, right? Now quality, whatever the services are there, the same services will be for the development also. Now you just mentioned the slash, in a sense it will take both the quality and development service, correct? Now only thing you have to change this virtual port if you want to call this to the quality, and only just change this virtual host or port whenever you call the development. If I show this URL yesterday, when I showed this URL, we have a standard URL. Okay. Okay, we have this standard URL, but only whenever you want to call the quality system, then here you just give the virtual host of the quality system, virtual host and port of the quality system. Okay, and what is the client? You just mentioned that. And whenever you want to call the development system, you just copy this and you just mention here. Just give the development client and just trigger. That's it.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it. This is the URL that we will be providing in CPI, right?
Yes, this is the standard URL. This
Okay.
is the which is provided by the SAP. This is all of the standard.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is the RFCs, then just you add your functional module. Like you just select an RFC. Okay, and without load balancing or with load balancing, suppose if you have the load balancing, then system ID and message server, application server, this information you know, right? You just go to here and right click and go to the properties. Here you will find this application server, instance number, system ID. Okay, you just give the same information here. Okay, if you without, then you just give the application server, just copy paste that. Then instance number 00. Okay. Now, not this one. Yeah, this one. Here you just add your functional name. Okay, what is the functional module you created? You just add this functional module name. Okay, just click on save. Now, if there any time you want to expose or anytime you want to call, then you just create an RFC destination with the same host and virtual port in an cockpit. Then you just call then RFC destination in PI. Sorry, in CPI.
Okay, here this virtual host I'll be providing in that URL, right?
No, in the here you have to create an HTTP destination, right?
Okay.
For RFC, you have to create a destination. Remember that. Let me show you that. If you go here, let's go to destination. Just click new and just select RFC and here give the any name. Okay. And here you just give the backend username and password. Okay. And it's a on-prem, right? You just give the on-prem and just give the save. Then here you just give the same. Let me open RFC channel. Okay. For the RFC, it will not accept anything. Only it's accepting the RFC destination. You have to give the same RFC destination here, nothing else.
Okay, so once this iFlow is executed, that FM which is there in ABAP through Cloud Connector, it will execute, is
Yes,
it?
correct, exactly.
Okay, this is nice.
If you understand this cloud connector concept, then everything is very, very simple. If you understand this basic, only everything is depends on the virtual host and virtual port. Okay, because it's a cloud connector, the secure way. That is the reason instead of internal host, internal port, you are exposing the virtual host and virtual port to the outer world. It's the same as API management. Now API management is an gateway, API gateway for all the backend interfaces. The likewise, this cloud connector is for then SAP, any ECC systems or anything. This ECC cloud connector will be a secure connector.
Okay. Thanks, Abhinav.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anyone? Okay. Anyone tried this cloud transport management or cloud connector? Try to install this cloud connector in your system. Facing any issues?
No, Abhinav, we haven't tried, I guess.
Yeah. And whenever you tried cloud connector, right? For few systems, it will give the error, which is cloud connector will be not installed. Okay, in the time you have to install these 3 applications. Okay, you just noted down these, because if you try this cloud connectors, it will not allow you. It will give you the DNS SSL some certificate error. Okay, in the time you just use. Let me show you that error in the internet. DLL. Yeah, this will be error. There is a problem with this Windows install package, a DLL required for installing the cloud connectors on the Windows. Okay, in the time, what you have to do is just you download any one of these. There you can download the vCredits list x86 or something. Then you can use the cloud connector. Otherwise, it will not work. Okay, did you guys receive the documentation or?
Only the presentation one we have got.
Okay.
I think there were some couple of documents, right, where you have mentioned step by step.
Yeah. You
When
didn't receive that.
installation part.
Yeah, I shared this these documents. They will also provide these, and I'll share this Groovy scripts list, and they'll share this also. You can ask Hema. Hema will.
Yeah. Actually, we are. This is a lot of one day training is also very much having lot of information. So
Yeah. Okay, any other questions or anything before I jump into the next topic? Or we'll close the call in next 30 minutes. Let me explain a scenario where it's important for SAP. Yeah. Let me take a difficult scenario. For every problem in CPI, we have different solutions. Okay, you can use any kind of solution, but the final achievement, you have to get the output. Okay, that is an CPI. You can create a number of solutions. Okay, well, Okay, we already discussed this concept of externalized parameter. Okay, also you can I'll show you this interface. Yeah. Now let's assume this is a standard interface. Now you have to differentiate between the development system and quality system. Then whenever you want to test only the development system, then you just change the host here, okay, to the development, and the client ID, just deploy this. Okay. Then if you want to change this to quality, then change this to host and port, then change the client ID, then just deploy. Okay. Likewise, you can use the same CPI tenant for both quality and development system. Okay, instead of every time you are going to edit and enter this information, okay, that is the same they used here. Duplicate. Okay, let me explain this. Yes. Camel expression. Yeah, let me put this on. Okay. In CPI, we have these camel expressions, which you use anywhere in your integration flow. Okay. Now we already know this $in dot body store the message data, right? Whatever the income data and whatever the data you want to store, you can use either $in dot body or $body just. Okay. Then we know that header and property and the date also we know. Okay. Now, whenever you want to get the message ID, right, then you just use message processing log ID. Then you will get this. Okay. You can just use this in content modifier or anywhere in the Groovy script, anywhere. You just directly call this $SAP message processing log, then you can use that. Okay. Then if you want to get the file name, suppose you are using the sender side is SFTP, okay, or FTP or anything, they send a file. Now in the target side, they want the same file name, then you just use the $camel file name. Then this $camel file name will store the incoming file name and it send the same file name to the target system. Okay. And if you want to get the HTTP URL, okay, where exactly this SAP CPI is running, then you can use the camel HTTP URI. Okay. Then we have exception.message. Whenever if there is any error, this exception.message will capture the error. And if you want to send that to the any target system or any user, then you just use the exception subprocess where you can use this. Okay. Then if you want to trace the stack of the error, all this information you can use this. Okay. And we have a relative path and absolute path. Okay. Whenever suppose this is the path where they're placing the file. Okay. Now, if you want to know the complete path, then you just use the absolute path. Okay. Then it will give you the complete path. Now, if you want to know what kind of file, then you can just give the extension ext. Okay. Then it will give the PDF file or doc file or Groovy, whatever it may be. Then if you want to know the only file name, hello.txt, then you just use the name. Okay. Now, if you want to know the name extension, then you just give the name extension only. Then it will give the what is the extension of this hello. Then it will give the same. And if you want to know the name with no extension, okay, now it will take text with hello with no extension. Okay. Now, if you want to know the only name, okay, there are so many, you can use this. Okay. Then we have an absolute path with the different kinds of, okay, you can directly what you just use is you just copy this and you just use whenever you want. Okay. If you want this in the Groovy script, then you can use that. Okay. This is one more important thing also you have to understand. These all called as camel expressions, we call this. Okay. Now, one more thing also, whenever you send the data to the target system, right? Then before sending to the target system, make sure that you delete all the headers. Okay. Now here, instead of create, you just mention delete. Okay. And if there are any headers, then you select that. Okay. If there are nothing, if there is anything, then you can just select that. If already created some headers, then if you want to delete all, then just mention dot star. Okay. Now let me create one header here. Okay, now it will delete this and let me mention dot star here. Dot star. Okay, now it will delete whatever the name or their headers. It will create all the headers before sending to the target system. Okay, this will be one more important thing that you have to understand. Okay, because there is no point you are sending the header information to the target system. You just delete, whenever the usage is completed. Okay. Any questions? No. No questions, then let's go for the next one. Okay. Let me give 1 second. Let me take my. Okay, how to send an monitoring report, right? Suppose you want to send the monitoring report for every 1 hour or every 2 hours. Okay, that we have a standard package. Let me pull that. Okay, we have few standard packages. Okay, even I'll share these packages with you. Just what you have to do is you just upload the same package. Okay, and it's a standard functionality. It will send a report for every 1 hour or 2 hours. Just upload this same. Here you just change your URL to this one. Okay, HTTP till here, and you just mention the same API. Okay, and change your authentication. You have to upload your CPI credentials in the secure area. Okay. Okay, let's go to secure material. Give CPI. And give your username and password. Just click on deploy. Okay, now it's deployed. Now I use the same credential here, CPI. Okay, nothing to do anything. Just let me change this mail configurations also. Establish mail smtp.gmail.com. SMTP plain user password Gmail and processing. So just mention mail report. Save and deploy. Okay. 8, 2. Check. Let me try a second. Just okay. Let's just repeat this. It's pausing. Let me open Gmail. Yeah, now we got this report. Okay, if you see here, okay, we have this is the interface which is success count and fail count, and this is the another interface which is success count is 0, fail count, and this is the other interfaces. Okay, now if you want to run the same interface for every 1 hour, then you just change this to start schedule to let me delete this. Okay, schedule daily for every 1 hour. Okay, you just do this and you can just deploy. Okay, now whenever you change to every 1 hour, for every 1 hour, if there is it check all the monitoring from the channel. Okay, it will check the whatever the error messages and what are the I flows, then it will send the same to the report. okay, in the standard structure. Okay, now if you want to generate any content or anything, you can see it here. Okay, you can add. Understood? Okay, this is also standard flow. I'll share this package. Okay, basically it used to fetch the information by using the API. Okay, this is the standard API which is provided by the SAP by using the same URL. It's a OData API, and we are fetching all this information. Okay, we are fetching the integration artifacts and status and everything, and finally we are using the mapping to convert into the proper format. Then we need it in a XSL format. That's why we are converting XML to CSV. Okay, likewise you can do for every 1 hour based on your requirement. Okay, clear? Any, are you able to got this right? I think it's easy to understand. Just use the standard structure here. Okay, you can also use the standard package in your project. What you have to do is you just change this URL here. Okay, this standard URL, it will change to your CPI URL. Then you can leave everything like that, and you just change this connection, okay, to whom you want to send the mail. Okay, that's it. Nothing more than this. Any doubts, anyone? Any questions or clear? Okay. And also finally, we have one function called as persist. Okay. Basically persist, we used to store the payload. Okay. But basically whenever you want to store any variable, then you use the right variable, right? But whenever you want to store the payload, complete payload, then you just use the persist. It's a function where you can find it here. Okay, it's a persist here. Okay, you just use this persist before the end step. Then whatever the data is sending to before to the receiver system, it store all this information in the persist temporary database for 90 days. Then whenever you want to retrieve, then you can also retrieve that. Okay, if you want to access the same data, if you want to see the data, then you just you can fetch that. Okay, that is main functionality of the persist message. Okay, mostly we use this for pre-processing and post-processing. We want to store the data before processing, how the data is reaching to the SAP CPI, and again we use one more persist to know how the data is generated and how the data is sent before to the end step.
So, Abhinav, this way will be able to see only when the trace is on, or
No,
somewhere in manage data store.
no.
Somewhere.
This will not see in the monitoring like here. We have a standard URL which is provided by the SAP. You also use the standard URL to view the data. You just search for persist data store URL. We have the standard URL. Let me give you this URL. Let me use this time. I'll show how it will work. Sorry. Okay, the flow will be look like this. You just suppose you use the persist step anywhere, then you just use this standard. You can also put this on chart. Okay, then you just use this. Just use what you have to do is you just send the message ID. Okay, now once you send the message ID, it will retrieve the whatever the data there, right? In the persist, it will fetch the payload only. But what you have to understand is basically the use of the persist, it stores the data temporarily in the database, the complete payload. Now, whenever you want to fetch that persist data, then you just send the message ID, then you can able to see that. Okay. Yeah, any other questions? Any other project related questions or any understandings? Yeah, if everything is fine, then we'll wind up here. Okay.
Sure, Abhinav. Yeah. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Is any questions or anything or any doubts you can ask now, because today is the last session. If you have any other questions, yeah.
Just a small doubt, Abhinav. Like the print statement that we use in Groovy script,
Yeah.
those data will be like whatever the print, suppose hard text we write in print statement in
No, it
Groovy
will
script.
take forward. It will not take it forward, because whatever the data you use set body or set property or set header, the same data will be take forward. Otherwise, other data will be collapsed there.
Okay.
Yeah, either you suppose if you're doing printing statement for some content, okay, now the same content you want to send for next step, either you have to set body and you store the same content somewhere and you have to use the same. Otherwise, it will print statement is a no use of the Ruby script. Just if you want to do the internal testing, like the tool testing, then that will be an fine. But whenever you are coming to the CPI Groovy script, then you have to use either the set body or set header, set property.
Okay. Thanks, Abhinav. That's all.
Any other questions before wind up the SAP CPI classes? If you have any doubts or I'll share all these PPTs, okay, whatever the PPTs and the open source URLs and everything, I'll share this information with you definitely. Okay. But everything you will get only when you do hands-on, okay? Otherwise, you will forget everything. Only the main key point here is you have to do the hands-on. Then it's easy to do the SAP CPI. There is no complexity in the CPI.
True, Abhinav. It's all remains with hands-on only mainly.
Yeah, correct.
Abhinav, do you also have something like common error message that we receive in CPI and how to handle that? Somewhere we can, any blog or anything?
No, I don't have that specifically. Actually, I'm designing one website that whenever you paste an error, it will give you the solution. Actually, we developers, 4 to 5 developers, we are currently working on that. Maybe that will be in beta stage. Maybe in future you can also find it that the internet. Like you just paste that error, whatever the error you will get in the search tab, then you will find multiple solutions. Then you can do that.
Any reference like how we can access that in future?
No, it's not published yet. Like the way of source we not finalized yet, because how to enter to the web world we are not decided. If there is anything, definitely I'll inform to Hema, because Hema is the point of contact. Then Hema will definitely share with you. And all these PPTs and everything I'll share with Hema. A few I shared already, and these Groovy scripts I will share today. And whichever I have, I'll share everything.
Okay, Abhinav, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Abhinav, the PPTs or which you have shared or videos and all these, does it have the Postman config and all? Any troubleshooting
Yes.
regarding the Postman?
Yes, yeah, everything is there.
Okay.
Yeah, I created then step by step where you can find everything.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Because
also
when I've tried to.
Okay. Issues right with the Postman.
Yes, I'm not able to set up that Postman.
Oh, okay. It's giving 500 internal error or 401.
Actually, I'm facing difficulty while the setup itself.
Oh, okay. Then I'll definitely share that PPT. You can get it from the Hema or your counterpart.
Sure.
If you want, I can show you the process in quick 2 minutes if you want.
Yeah, Abhinav, please.
Yeah, okay. You just go to here, the trial account. Okay. Once you go to your sub account, you go to sub account. Yeah, just go to your trial sub account, or the one which you created. Okay. Then go to service marketplace. Then search for integration runtime. Okay. Integration runtime. Yeah. Then you will find, process integration runtime. You will find it here. Okay. Then just click on create. Okay. Then select plan for integration flow or API. We are doing for integration flow. And here you just give ESB messaging dot send. ESB messaging dot send. It's already existing.
And the plan on Abhinav, is it we create the plan or it's an existing one?
Which plan?
Plan integration flow you have shown me, right? That's the second
this will
one.
default one. Yeah, this is default one. You can.
Because for me it is showing as a trial only.
Okay, not an API or integration flow.
No, these are not getting shown in my.
Oh, how come it's not showing there? Okay, you able to subscribe for this, right? Process integration runtime.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you don't mind, you can share your screen. I'll check that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you go to service and marketplace? Yeah. Can you search for process integration runtime? Search for integration. Okay, integration runtime is not there. Then just can you check that Cloud Foundry is enabled or not?
Yeah, I have enabled.
Okay. Then go to entitlement.
Created the space.
Oh, okay. Then go to entitlement. Okay, configure entitlement. Add service plan. Yeah, just search for that runtime.
Process integration runtime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then check that too. Yeah, add to service plan. Yeah. Now go to service marketplace.
Oh, I didn't save that one. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It will be. You didn't save that.
Yeah, I didn't save it. Yeah. Create?
Yeah, create. Yeah. Integration.
And this runtime from the Cloud Foundry.
Yeah, it's a Cloud Foundry dev, and you can give ESB, E capital, S capital, P capital, M capital. Yeah. Messaging dot send, SEND. Yeah. Click on create. View instance. Yeah, just click on the TSB messaging down part. Yeah, in click on create service keys down, service key. Yeah, click on create. Yeah, then there are, you mentioned same ESB messaging dot send. Yeah, click on create.
Do we need to click on anything or form?
No, nothing.
JSON?
You just click on create. Yeah. Yeah, now it's created. You also use this client ID, client secret as username and password when you try to trigger the postman. Okay. The other part is just go to instance and subscriptions. Click on that instance. Okay.
Okay.
Can you go down and go to the users? No, here in the left hand side, role collection. Yeah, click on plus option.
The roles I have added CPI. This one is it one?
CPI, yes. No, but you didn't add any messaging sent. Right?
Okay.
You have to.
Okay.
Just CPI, yes. Yeah, click create. Yeah, now search for that CPIS. Yeah, click on that. Yeah, just click on edit. Yeah, now search this, your mail. Okay, then scroll up. Yeah, here the role, check that box. Click on that boxes, 2 boxes. Yeah, search for message, MESS, message. Yeah, then last one, messaging send. Yeah, checkbox this. Yeah, click on add. Yeah, scroll down. Okay, now you added this. Okay, then click on save.
Do we need to click this press or add user?
No need. You already added. No.
Okay.
Yeah, you just click on save. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just you refresh this and you can try Postman.
Okay, sure, Abhinav. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.